slam you, he didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you, he rubbed you. And rubbing's son is racing.
And welcome everybody to Locked On iRacing. This is episode number 15, and I'm Peter Wilkinson, and I'm joined by Braden Martin, but that's not what you want to know about. You want to know who we're joined with this week, and we are joined by the lovely Emily Jones. How you going?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me. Excited to
No problems. It is our honour, and what you were one of those dream picks we put way up here that one day we might get Emily Jones on and a few other people. And look, we're episode 15 and we've got you on, so thank you very much for agreeing to this. And congratulations on top 5 on the weekend, best result in Scops ever.
Yeah, thank you. Pretty stoked. It was a top 5 in Scops at Watkins Glen, and I don't know, it's one of those It was one of those races where I don't know how I got up there, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes you have races where you're fighting at the front, or you've got pace and you're trying to make everything work, but at the end of the day you cross the line and you're like 15th or something. And this race, I started in 21st, and I just sort of like, I was in 15th for ages, and then, I don't know, things happened, I lost track of everything, and then I was right kind of near the front at the end. It was a pretty cool experience. But yeah, thank you for having me on. And
that's
no problems at all.
Were you
looking at your overlay going
wondering how
were you looking at your overlay asking were you looking at your overlay asking if iRacing was broken, and why? Because that's what when I'm so far down the field, it looks like I'm up the field. I'm up the opposite. I don't know how that works.
It was
I've never been up the front of the field.
Yeah, sometimes like I find what I do is I zone out. So I zoned out. There was a couple of safety cars at the end of the race where I just sort of, there was 2 that I the middle period of those, I just completely, I don't know, I think I got distracted and I just kind of zoned out. And I passed like 6 or 7 cars in the space of like 2 laps. And it was just, I mean, it wasn't like full normal passing moves. There were people getting knocked wide, so I would jam the car down the inside and things like that. But I don't know, it was like I lost count of what was happening, and then I just zoned out, and it was way up the field. So I like it when it's that way. Sometimes it feels like you're passing everybody and you're not moving up the field sometimes.
I know that feeling, don't worry. It's all good. Anyway, we've already, like I said, I warned you in my little memo that we just go on tangents, and we've already in a tangent. We haven't even asked the first question on the run sheet, so I apologise. Let's go back. For our listeners, if they don't know you already, who is Emily Jones?
I am a sim racer. I'm a sim racer, yep. And I race. I race online. This is harder than I thought. I race online in multiple games, mostly iRacing, but also Gran Turismo. And I'm a Twitch streamer. And I compete for McLaren F1's esports team, McLaren Shadow, as well.
Which I can't wait to get on about, because I'm fascinated by this. And that we'll get onto that later. I won't jump straight into that. Let's go into a few other things first. When did you get into sim racing?
I've kind of, it's always been a thing that I've been doing. Like it's not a new thing, I guess. I've been kind of racing. I was karting since I was young, and you know, I raced a bit of cars as well in real life, and I was sim racing the whole way through it in just whatever I could find. I think the first sim racing game I had was NASCAR 2003, NASCAR racing. I didn't even know what NASCAR was, but I got a copy of it for some reason, and I was playing it on arrow keys. And I got into the iRacing beta, so I was one of the first few people in iRacing. My user account looks a bit different because it's not got as many digits as everybody else's.
It wouldn't either.
Yeah, but I was in the beta, nice. and I really enjoyed it. And then I kind of took a massive break for like many years. I did a bit of racing, but I wasn't very good, and I wasn't taking it very, I guess, seriously. And then I kind of came back and I've taken it more seriously in the last couple of years, I guess. V8 Scops has been kind of the thing that's brought me back into it, and that just led on to all these other opportunities and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, what did your sim rig look like at the start?
So basically I saved up money for a G27 because I had I was competing in a league in NASCAR with a joystick. And like the A and the Z keys is the throttle and the brake, and I was just kind of steering with the joystick. And I eventually moved to like a Momo racing steering wheel just on a desk, and that was like, it had like a rubber steering wheel, so the rubber would all like come off in my hands. It was gross. So I saved it for a G27, and my dad built this awesome wooden rig, which I actually still use today. It's about 10 years old, so it looks pretty much the same as it used to, but I've got different gear that I use now as well.
I did hear on the stream in the interview how different your gear actually is now and how impressive it is, but we'll get onto that a little bit later, I think, too. So,
is there any other games that you're looking forward to coming out in the future? Maybe racing or non-racing related?
Yeah, I guess sim racing games I'm looking forward to. I like the idea and kind of being in esports, kind of more on the esports side of things, I guess, as a content creator than I guess just like a variety streamer or something like that. I like the idea of sim racing games lasting for a really long time. So I like the idea that iRacing is going to stay around for ages and it's just going to keep iterating. So I'm more excited by the idea that what we have now will just continue to be kind of built on. Like that kind of excites me a bit. But saying that, I think F1 2021 is coming out very soon, so that could be a bit of fun. I like a lot of different games as well, so nothing springs to mind, but I'm sure there'll be stuff. Yeah,
no problems. Have you cooked anything exciting lately? Because I read that you like your cooking now.
I do. So I it depends. I find like cooking is it's that one thing that like I never want to do, but as soon as I start doing it, it's like my favorite thing. And it completely like I'll be too stressed and I'll be like, oh, my life's too stressful. I don't have time to cook. And then I will cook and it's like it like de-stresses me, I guess. It's like I don't know, I feel like it's a relaxing experience for me. But I guess most recently I cooked something cool on the weekend. I can't really remember what it was. I cooked this weird kind of like marinated pork and like rice and like there's just kind of cool rice bowl things. A lot of the meals I'm making are kind of just for myself, I guess. So I don't really experiment that much. And with I work full time and then I stream, I guess. So I don't have a huge amount of time, but generally like once every month or so we try and do a big meal. My partner and I, we did this big cook up at the end of last year. I remember, this is a restaurant called Movida. I'm way going on a tangent now, but they make like Spanish food, and we did this massive cook up with like all these 3 different courses of like artichoke, like kind of like marinated stuff, and then these like lovely octopus balls that we made, and just like lots of different things, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah.
Oh, that sounds really good. If you ever get some photos and stuff, we've got a Show Us Your Meat channel in our Discord. You can jump them in there. That's where all the cooking stuff goes. So
yeah.
Definitely show us what you do.
Definitely. We're going to Bathurst this year and I'm excited because I feel like I have an entire weekend where I can just cook whatever I want. Like I'm just going to get a fire or a barbecue or just both and then just like meal plan the whole thing. I'm really excited.
So when you go to Bathurst, what's the accommodation like? Are you camping it, or are you B&Bing it, or are you going to a hotel, or what's going on?
We'll be camping. So we've got a camp spot at McPhillamy, so at the top of the mountain, and it's the first time I've gone to Bathurst for like the Supercars before. So first time to the 1000, and
wow.
Yeah, I've kind of been holding off. Like, you know, I've been obsessed with it my whole life. But I've held off for so long, I feel, just because I didn't want to kind of waste the experience. I was like, if I'm going to do it, I want to be camping and do everything. So the opportunity came up. So
you're camping at McPhillamy, your first ever Bathurst time. I'm so jealous. That is going to be one hell of an experience. And I hope you do get some sleep while you're up there as well, because those boys like to party up there, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it seems crazy.
Yeah. So look, we know you're a sim racer. You talked about that, but you're also into all other games. What other games are you playing at the moment outside of sim racing?
Oh, outside of sim racing, it's weird. Like as a streamer, I guess I'm streaming a bit of flight sims at the moment. So I'm streaming a bunch of flight sim,
nice.
which I find really interesting and just something completely different. I've been learning to do VAT sim, which is like kind of the air traffic control simulation, on Flight Simulator, and it's completely different to driving a car in sim racing. I mean the flying bit, like landing the plane and kind of taking off and doing that kind of comes fairly naturally, but everything else is completely different, and keeping track of all the numbers and doing all these calculations and stuff, it's really interesting. Otherwise, I'm playing MotoGP on stream. I've been playing No Man's Sky on stream.
Oh, really? Yeah, how's that these days? Did you play it at the start compared to now, or is it just something you got on
I did. So I did play it at the start for like a weekend, and then I stopped. But I've come back to it, and it's really good. It's almost too big though for me to like it. It's intimidating to get into. It's also really scary. Like I forget how scary like aliens are in like space and stuff. I'm playing Mass Effect actually as well. I'm playing the anniversary edition of Mass Effect. A lot of the games I play, I just because I find it hard to play games and wind down if they're competitive. So I used to play Overwatch and stuff, but now these days I'm just playing like single player things where I can turn my mind off and relax.
Were you a Mass Effect fan beforehand, or is this the first run through?
I played through all three when they came out. Okay. So I bought this game and I was trying to get my partner into it. I was like, hey, you need to play this. It's really, really good. And then I bought it, and then they were like busy, so I just started playing them, and then I was like, oh, bad luck. I guess I'm playing them again now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's not a bad game to have to play. Now, did you ever finish Persona 5 Royale?
Oh no, I didn't. It's close. I'm up to.
It's close.
It's very close. I'm in the DLC, so
okay.
I guess without spoiling.
So over 100 hours at that stage.
Yeah.
Into the game.
Have you beaten it or?
No, I purchased it and then I got intimidated by it, and I went, no, that's it. That's enough for me. I don't have 100 hours spare, 130 hours or whatever it is spare to play that, but I do appreciate how good it is from what I've heard from everyone. So one day I might get time.
Yeah, it's great. It's worth it. It's just, I think
I
had to play it in, well, it's about to be 3 goes, but I had to play it in 2 goes. Like, I think I played the first 60 hours like crazy, and I got 60 hours in and I was just like, I can't do this. I need a break. So I think I took 3 or 4 months off, and then I came back, did another 60 hours in like 3 weeks, and then that's where I'm up to now. And it's been a couple of months, so I'm probably ready to get back into it again, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. That's your next game after you finish No Man's Sky.
Yeah, finish No Man's Sky. God, imagine that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Find the center of the galaxy, you'd be right. Now, let's get on to what we actually got you on here for, which is the motor racing stuff. McLaren Shadow, okay, that's who you drive for at the moment. What is that? Explain McLaren Shadow to us. Yeah,
so McLaren Shadow is, I guess the easiest way to think of it is, so McLaren Formula 1 team, the esports division of McLaren Formula 1. It's got a bunch of drivers in it, and I'm one of them, I guess. We're managed by Veloci Esports as well, which is another esports company. So Veloci is kind of in charge of the day-to-day running of the McLaren Shadow team, and we work very closely with McLaren as well, so they're very involved. But yeah, basically it's a sim racing team. We have an F1 esports squad that compete for McLaren, and we have the world's fastest gamer, James Baldwin, there, which is really cool. We also have an eNASCAR team that competes in iRacing Coca-Cola series, and we have a Trackmania player who's going for the World Cup next week, which is really exciting. He's one of the top in the world. And
that's such a fun game to watch, by the way. I've sat on so many streams watching Trackmania streamers, and I'm like, why am I watching this? But it's so fun to watch. Just something about the smoothness of someone who does a really good run on one of those tracks. It's just very visually appealing.
Yeah, definitely agree. I love Trackmania. I've been playing Trackmania for a long time as well. I'm not very good at it, but I agree. It's like it's something completely different, and it's something zen like about watching it. And the pros are so good. It's really cool to watch. But yeah, we're a team. We compete in lots of different stuff. We also have a handful of content creators. I guess the two actually at the moment is Tiamat Marduk, who's a YouTube F1 content creator, and myself. So yeah.
Oh, pretty cool. Honestly, I'd never heard of it until I saw you racing it, and so it's very interesting concept and really good stuff. How did it come about? How did you get into McLaren Shadow?
I was approached by Veloci, I guess. And this was only announced like a couple of months ago, so earlier this year. But it all happened last year, so it was all. I was kind of approached by Veloci, and they were like, "Hey, we've got you in mind." I don't know how much I can actually say, but basically they were like, "We have you in mind for this opportunity," and they were like holding off on that for me, and then they were like, "Actually, we want you for McLaren Shadow," which was very exciting for me, and something I was like, actually, yes, I want that. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they kind of, got me on the team, and they've been really cool. They painted a livery for me for Scops, and they've been pretty supportive. So, yeah.
And it looks hot as well.
It is good.
The livery, yeah.
Obviously, that's super exciting racing for a real F1 team effectively in the virtual world, I suppose. But what's the biggest surprise that you've got from that experience so far?
Biggest surprise? I guess just it's cool. Just I feel like every time in content creation that I work with somebody that's I look up to or I think is really cool. Basically, someone that I idolize and I get to work with him is a pretty crazy experience. I feel like doing squad sprint earlier this year was really crazy fun because I was racing with all the F1 esports drivers for all these different race teams and all these different drivers. I was working with James Baldwin and kind of Ben Daly, so Tiamat Marduk we were in a team together, and these are two people that I've watched on YouTube for a while. I'm big fans, and we're in a team for like a whole season working together, and that was pretty crazy experience. I don't know. The whole thing is kind of crazy to remember that it's an F1 team. Sometimes I forget, and it's like, oh wait, this is a really big thing, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Absolutely. Apart from, joining up with some other content creators, has the McLaren Shadow stuff opened up any other doors that maybe you weren't expecting beforehand?
Yeah, there's been some stuff. There's a lot. There's always like kind of, I guess, activations and sponsorship stuff happening all the time. There's opportunities. I was part of the International Women's Day kind of Veloci presentation earlier this year, which was really cool. I raced with Jamie Chadwick and we did a big thing. Otherwise, it's difficult because of COVID and I'm on the other side of the world to everyone. It's difficult for me to get out there and get stuck in the in-person activation. So I feel like I would be doing a lot more of that if I was over there. But there's little things like, I'm sure, we'll have chances to make some content with Lando and potentially even Daniel in the future as well. We'll have to wait and see.
The way Daniel's luck's going at the moment, you might take his spot at the moment. Jeez.
I think he's doing okay. I feel like he's settling in and he's had some terrible, like, I don't want to say luck, but like some terrible, like certain situations, like performing badly at the wrong time to perform badly. I feel like he'll be fine. Everyone's like, oh my god, it's terrible. And I'm like, I think he'll be okay.
I got my hopes up so much last weekend when you'd made up 4 spots in like a lap and then just lost them all again because of some kind of a car issue. And I was just like, oh no, I thought that was the turning point.
It's crazy. And we were chatting about it actually after qualifying because he was three quarters of a second off Lando. And like Lando's great. Like I'm sure Lando might be like performing better at the moment. But Red Bull Ring is like It's like 6 corners. There's not a lot to Red Bull Ring. That should not be 3/4 of a second. Something's gone on, whether he's messed up his lap or whether he's gone the wrong way on setup. It's just it's something that's just like something's not quite right. But
especially when he was topping the practice sessions as well. Like he was right up there in all the practice sessions as well. So it was very strange.
Exactly. I think there's been flashes of like speed. I feel like he was quite good at France. I feel like not Imola. He was not good at Imola. The race after that, he's been fast at certain points. He has out-qualified Lando, I'm pretty sure, once this season. It just needs to click for him. I'm confident it'll happen, though.
So speaking of fast drivers, we were talking about Daniel Ricciardo. He's still a fast driver. You talk about trusting the process a lot and surrounding yourself with faster drivers than maybe you are. How's McLaren Shadow helped you with that, and how important has that been to maybe your current form, like 5th in Scops?
I think confidence. It's been really good for confidence. Just kind of knowing that I've got an F1 team kind of behind me. It's a little bit of pressure and responsibility, but I feel like I don't want to say I'm thriving under it, but I feel like it's definitely helping me in the way that I approach everything. Is I can't do badly. Like I need to do well. There's a reason that they've chosen me to kind of work with, so I need to actually perform well, and I feel like that's helped me. I feel like the confidence I've gotten from that has been really good, and I feel like that's what's helped a lot. I don't do a huge amount of work with McLaren, unfortunately, in terms of the esports, I guess, my setup building and things like that. We don't have an iRacing team, so when it comes to iRacing, I mean, we have the NASCAR team, but when it comes to road racing on iRacing, I'm pretty much on my own, so I kind of have to figure it all out, and that's where I use TTR, and I'm still very close with TTR and kind of everything we do in the V8. I don't know, it's I feel like practicing in sim racing is like, it's the more hours you put in, the more you get out, but it's so hard to see that when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, definitely. So I've put 10 minutes of race practice in for tonight's race. I'm not going to go very well, I don't think.
Where is it?
But it's only a NASCAR race around Charlotte, so I'm not too stressed.
It's an oval. You'll be
fine. I'll turn left. I'll just turn left.
Yeah.
So look, I first came across Emily Jones with the Supercars E-Series, as we mentioned before. What was that experience like?
Supercars E-Series was, it was pretty crazy. So there's two E-Series that we've done now, and both of them have been pretty nuts experiences. I gotta say the first one was insane, because we actually all went to Sydney. We all got flown in twice for a media day, and also for the first round in Sydney in person in a LAN event, and that was nuts. I feel like all of us hadn't really done something like that before, so it was crazy kind of working with Supercars. I remember the first time I got there for the media day, and I'm not sure if you remember from 2 years ago, but they have these graphics with the driver's name and like cool, like flashy graphics, and the drivers will like take photos in front of it in like this big kind of warehouse. And they're taking these photos with us, and I'm like standing there taking photos. I look behind me, and there's this massive like my green color, and it's like Emily Jones, like in big letters, and I'm standing in front of it, and I'm like, this is insane. This is like nuts. And I don't know, it was a really good experience. I feel like that first E-Series was really great. Everyone was really invested in sim racing in Australia. The top 12 drivers were there, and all 12 drivers I feel like we were all in the same team. We were competing against each other, but it was very much like all of us just wanted the series to go well. And we were lucky that happened again for a second year, and we got to come back again.
What was that? First of all, you get a phone call to say, hey, do you want to be in this Supercars thing we're doing? What was that like? How did that even happen?
It was a weird one, because I remember for the first series, people were getting tapped on the shoulder about it way before the series was happening. So it was like very early in the year, before anyone even knew it was a thing, and people were getting like, there's discussions about an esports series related to supercars, and teams are already started to talk to people. And I remember I kind of thought I would, this sounds really stupid and kind of confident, but I kind of thought I would get a call at some point. And yeah, it was about a month or two before the actual event. And yeah, it was pretty crazy getting called up and kind of being given a drive. And the second year was even crazier because I got called up and they introduced themselves and they're like, oh yeah, we're head of marketing for BP. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is like a lot for my lunch break to be taking a call from BP, but I'll do it. Sounds cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's nasty. So, look, that first round you mentioned before, what was it like meeting everyone for the first... Was that the first time you met most people, I assume, and then getting to sit on the same rigs as everyone and being at the same level playing field as everyone? What was that sort of like?
Yeah, it was... Yeah, it's really nice to meet everybody. I feel like, you know, often sim racers don't ever see each other's faces ever, so I feel like that was a really great experience, and I feel like it helps to grow the rapport of everyone involved. I feel like, excuse me, sorry, every, like, an issue in sim racing sometimes is I feel like people don't treat the other drivers like humans sometimes. You know, you can crash into people and do all sorts of stuff, or you can bully other people or do all sorts of stuff, and it's kind of acceptable. But if you meet that person in real life and you see them, I feel like it's hard to bully somebody or to make fun of somebody if you see them. And kind of meeting these people that we're about to be competitive with, we were still really competitive all season, but having met them and being all in person, I don't know, it was nice to meet everybody, and we had a really kind of interesting couple of days in Sydney. I remember we all went out for drinks. We watched the Monza qualifying where nobody wanted to lead out for drafting or whatever. I don't know, it was cool, and the in kind of studio round was all on very basic gear as well, so a different kind of playing field for everybody. I think I performed quite well. I was in the top half of the field, which was not where I should have been at the time, but I feel like the Logitech gear really kind of suited me at the time.
It seemed like, from my memories of that series, you kept on getting stuck in unlucky events, like someone would spin and you'd get hit and things like that. Was that how it felt to you, or you're happy with overall? Yeah,
it's definitely. I would say that the last both series I've been caught in a bunch of crashes. I wouldn't say I'm more unlucky than anybody else. I feel like it's just the nature of the series, especially the last series. The second series was potentially some of the worst driving standards I've ever seen in anything. It was terrible. I feel like everyone was just constantly in shunts, and it became kind of crazy. Like, if you make it through the first 2 or 3 laps in these races without crashing, generally you're on for a really good result, which is kind of crazy to think about.
So just like officials then.
Yeah, exactly.
So who's the funniest driver out of the lot?
Funniest driver. I guess, like, I don't know. There's a lot of really funny. They're all really funny guys, and I feel like just the banter is very, very funny. I wouldn't say there's one that's like the funniest of them all. I think I mean, being from TTR, and I feel like the sense of humor at TTR is hilarious, and kind of the jokes coming out of those drivers at E-Series were really, really funny. I don't know, there was some funny things. I remember Ethan Griggolt crashing into a wall at Zandvoort and like holding the mic button and just screaming into his mic, and that was very funny. I remember Josh Rogers having to ask for the paint pack to be sent via zip because he didn't know what .ra was, and all of us are sitting there on the voice call being like, how do you not know what WinRAR is? So there were some good moments, but yeah, it was fun.
Wow, Josh Rogers, that is impressive. So what did E-Series do for your career?
It was really cool. It got me in front of supercars, I guess. So the most obvious thing I can think of is I got to do the track previews for the All-Stars E-Series, which was the for the kind of real life Supercars drivers. I got to do all the track previews for them for Facebook and YouTube and all of that stuff. That was really cool, and it also kind of opened up some contacts, like standard, like, you know, relationship building. Like, now I know people in supercars, so I've friends with people that I would have not been friends with otherwise. Like, people like Chad Nalon, as an example, you know, you run into him at a track and you can have a chat with him and see how he's going and stuff like that. And all these kind of people would be completely out of reach to us, I feel like, if it wasn't for things like this.
Yeah, wow. What was your best moment of the whole experience for the 2 years?
Best moment, I have to say the best moment was I got a podium in the first series, but I don't know if that was my best moment, because I had to defend the whole race. Like, I knew I had to do that. I feel like the best moment was when the penny finally dropped that I could, like, compete against these guys. Like, at the time when I first started, I wasn't, like, there were 12 drivers in the first series. I reckon I was like 12th or 11th best in the field. And the second series was like 22 drivers. I reckon I was around 21, 22 as well. And both of those series, I something clicked at some point, and I was like, oh, hang on a second, I'm actually pretty good. And I remember the first round in the first series that clicked. And in the second series, it was Montreal, I think, the second round, I was really nervous about qualifying. I'm like, this is going to go badly. And then I qualified like 9th or 10th in the field, which is like in the top half of the field. I'm like, oh, wait, I'm actually like okay at this sim racing thing. I can do this. You need to calm down. So those are always good feelings, I guess, when you realize you can compete. And I don't know, if there's an E-Series this year, I want to carry that confidence in knowing that I deserve to be there on my own merit.
Definitely do. What do you think that has done for sim racing in Australia, this E-Series?
I think it's gotten it in front of a large audience, which has been great, I think. I also think it's been really good at creating a sort of a pro league for esports racing in Australia. Sometimes I feel like we're missing a true like pro esports kind of league for racing in Australia. We have, like, V8 Scops is the most competitive series out of any sim in the country. But you also have other series as well in other games. You have Gran Turismo, which is big. You have series in ACC. You've got a bunch of series there that are pretty big. But there's no, like, kind of pro esport level series, and I feel like that was what was really good about Supercars E-Series. It kind of created that higher level competitive edge, I guess. I don't know. It was cool.
Yep.
You mentioned Gran Turismo there. When did you go down the Gran Turismo rabbit hole?
I went down the Gran Turismo rabbit hole. Oh yeah. So I'm a friend. My friend Jimmy, who's like a YouTuber, Jimmy Broadbent is his name. He's like a commentator for the. You've heard of him? Okay, good. He's a commentator for the world championships of Gran Turismo, the World Tour, and they were looking for kind of different media and people to go to the World Tour events in Gran Turismo, and he was kind of putting my name forward, and he was like, you should come to this, and I was like, okay. And then eventually they were like, yeah, sounds good, and then they flew me to Tokyo for the World Tour event in 2019 in Tokyo, and it was awesome. I was so impressed. I'd not really raced Gran Turismo up until this point, but I had a full tour of Polyphony Digital. I, had an interview with Kazunori Yamauchi and like all this stuff. I'm like, this is amazing. And the racing was what got me though. Like, that stuff's cool. But then we were at the Tokyo Motor Show, and it was like a full live event, and Supercars E-Series was great, but this was another level. This was like the first time I'd seen a full live esports event for racing, and it looked awesome and it worked awesomely. And I was like, this is cool, very cool. I want to do this. So I competed in the Pro-Am event as an amateur driver. So it was like paired with a pro driver, which I found extremely kind of, I don't know what the word for it is, but it made me like unhappy. I was like, this is unfair. I'm going to come back, prove I'm not an AM driver. So the start of the next year, I started learning Gran Turismo, and I basically boot camped it over the summer. I went to World Tour Sydney as well. And then I pretty much just no-lifed Gran Turismo for all of 2020 during lockdown. It's like all I did. I didn't play iRacing. I just did Gran Turismo. And eventually I got to the point that I was, in top split in Australia, and then I started kind of winning top split races, and then starting, beating people like Cody and other drivers at Superstars races as well. So it kind of got up to there, and then eventually I went to the regional finals and then on to the world finals as well. So it was kind of a zero to hero kind of in a year, which was really cool. It was a lot of fun.
So moments like that, you realize iRacing's still, actually quite small in comparison to some other games and things out there. Obviously having the backing of a game like Gran Turismo has been around for so long makes a pretty big difference. Yeah,
the money is insane. Like we don't get paid to compete. There's no prize money in kind of world tour events, but we all get flown out. And we all get put in really nice accommodation and all this stuff. And for the World Tour last year, we all got shipped all this gear, and it's fancy gear. We all have like full DSLR cameras and like crazy backdrops and all these like mixing boards and everything. And I don't know, you can see the money. You can see the money that Sony has to produce their esport events versus things like iRacing. I mean, iRacing's a much smaller company, and I feel like they're doing fantastically. And all the way down to your kind of community broadcasters, which are not even connected, like not even run by the gaming company. People like SimSpeed, I feel like when you compare what Sony's doing compared to SimSpeed, there's a huge difference. But also, the amount of money is way, way bigger than that. Yeah. Like, the fact that they're creating that for so little money is really cool.
Speaking of Jimmy Broadbent, I was just about to watch his, I think he put up, is it today, £7 versus 7,000 sim setup video. I didn't quite get time to watch it yet, so I got to jump on and watch that next. That's the first thing I'm doing after I hop off of here. I guess you sort of mentioned this, but is the competitive side to it what really drew you to racing seriously in Gran Turismo?
I think there are a couple of things that drew me to Gran Turismo, and I feel like it's a combination of all of them. It's the fact that the way that it's presented, like I love travel. I think that's the first thing to say, and this is before COVID when I started saying I was going to do Gran Turismo. I wanted to go to the World Tour, and if COVID didn't happen last year and I'd qualified, which I did, I would have gone to all these events. We would have been at Nürburgring for the 24 hours for the World Tour there, and there were going to be World Tour events at other places in the world. I probably would have gone to six or so countries last year for the World Tour, and that sounded amazing to me. I was like, I want to do that. I want to travel. I want to see the world. But also, I love the way that they present their content. I love the way that you drive for your country. The idea of racing for Australia under the flag is kind of awesome to me. I'm a bit of like an Olympics nerd and things like that. So the idea of like competing under green and gold would be awesome.
So keen for that in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think it was
Tokyo.
it would be cool. It was a combination of things, I guess, though. And Gran Turismo is really competitive as well. So it turned out to be a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Is there a major difference between the two sims at the elite level, Gran Turismo and iRacing?
There are a couple of big differences. They're pretty different in terms of how the racing works. I would say probably there's two main kind of categories of differences. You have the differences in how the cars actually handle and how you drive them, and also how the racing kind of works. And I guess to say the cars, they handle very differently. They're a lot more planted than in iRacing and in other racing sims. They don't move around as much, but it means that to get really fast at Gran Turismo, you need to push harder. Like, you need to be so much more precise with your inputs, because it's easy to do a good lap in Gran Turismo, but it's insane to do a difficult lap, like a fast lap, if that makes sense.
Those last few tenths, or that last, little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It's so hard to get that last little bit. So things like that. I'd say that the other obvious difference is you brake at 100% every braking zone. So every time you hit the brakes, go straight to 100% and then trail brake. Whilst in iRacing, you will not be doing that. But also, I think the actual racing itself, that's the thing that I kind of got annoyed about. Some of my iRacing friends, I don't think, fully understood the strategy that goes on in Gran Turismo. Because Gran Turismo is a way more strategic racing game than iRacing. I reckon it's the most strategic sim racing game out there at the moment. And it's sort of the way that the game works as multipliers. So, you might have 8 times tire wear. So the tires only last like 4 laps. And the pit deltas last year were really short. So in iRacing, going down the pit lane could take 28 seconds, 30 seconds. But in Gran Turismo, it takes 7 seconds. So it's like,
wow.
Yeah, in a couple of laps, if a tire's a second faster, you can swap tires and make up a pit difference in like 5 or 6 laps. So you're thinking, do I want a 1-stop? Do I want a 2-stop? Like, you've got to make all these decisions, and you get to the finals, and the finals are like 40-minute races, and I think we did like 4 pit stops in the final, and it was like, it's completely different to iRacing, which was really, really cool.
What was it like competing at the FIA GTC Nations Regional Finals? Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. It was really cool. Everything's run by the FIA, so it's very, very it's very well run, and you have all the rules a long time before the event. You have many briefing sessions, you have test events, there's so many things that you go through. So it's very kind of well run versus iRacing, where it feels kind of last minute sometimes. But saying that, it's the race nights are really, really intense. Like the regional finals, it was Group B at Red Bull Ring, and it's a shootout qualifying session. So you're trying to qualify for the world final, and you have to get a good lap, and you only get one shot at it. And that's it. Like, you've been practicing this car at this track for weeks leading up to it. Red Bull Ring, not a huge amount of difficulty to that track. And then you get there and you hit the line and you're like, I have one chance to do this lap. And I don't know, I found that really intense and kind of stressful. But it was a lot of fun, really interesting.
I managed to crack under that pressure just in our Aussie car race last week, so I hear you.
Yeah.
Not just last week. Let's get on to the Twitch side of things. What got you into streaming?
I was pretty bored at the time. This was a couple of years ago. I just had nothing else going on in my life. I think I was working at the time, or I'd just finished university, and I was very bored. And I was playing iRacing, and iRacing streaming was sort of growing. Like, there were a couple of people doing it, but really, like, Matt Malone was doing it. Like, nobody else was doing it. There were a couple of people, but the numbers were so low that I was like, yeah, I could do this. This sounds fun. Like, and I started doing it just as like an excuse to... I'm not a very confident person. I'm still very much an introvert. So I was like, this is an excuse for me to practice talking to people and being a social human. And I love racing, and I've experienced racing, so I can give people advice on how to drive and all this stuff. And I was pretty bad when I first started, but I don't know, I improved. When I first started, I didn't even have like... I I didn't have a microphone for like the first like month. So I'm like typing in chat and like waving at everybody in my webcam, and then it was terrible. Like it took me ages to figure out what I was doing. But I don't know, it was just something interesting to me.
So what's the best part of Twitch for you at the moment?
I love like Twitch. My favorite kind of Twitch kind of mood or style is, I guess, the more relaxed streams. Like, I think people love my competitive racing streams, but I love the fact that you can do something very uninteresting with your life and people will find it interesting. This sounds really weird, but it's like I can just be hanging out.
I know what you mean, 100%.
Yeah, and I'll just
100% know what you mean.
Tell a story or just like be like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, and people are interested. People want to talk to me about it. I'm getting all these viewers watching me, and it's like addicting and it's fun. I really, really enjoy it. I want to do it more. I wish I had more time to do more of it, because I feel like even this year, I've started variety streaming a bunch this year, and I was expecting it to go terribly, but it's actually gone quite well. And I'm at this point where I'm like, why am I not streaming more? I don't know. It's really fun.
Yeah. Look, one of my most successful streams was when I decided to buy a second PC for streaming, and I decided, oh, why not just I'll do a stream while I'm buying the products from the website. And I had like 10 or 15 people in there going, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Try this, try that. And it was one of the most interactive and best streams I've done. So I recommend, no matter what you're deciding to do, if you're near a computer, stream it, because someone will be interested in it. So what is your stream setup look like at the moment?
So at the moment, and it's gone through a fair few iterations, I guess. My setup at the moment, so it's a full 80/20 rig. So it's a Track Racer TR80, and I've got some modifications on it. So I've got an off screen on my right, which we kind of manufactured a little bit, and yeah, I guess it's an 80/20 rig. But I've got a webcam. It's just a Logitech webcam that I had a webcam, and then my work sent me a webcam because of COVID, and I was like, this webcam's better than my own webcam, so I like swapped them. So I'm using a work webcam, which is great. And I've got a ring light that I bought off Amazon, which is cool. I've got this boom mic. I've got this Audio Technica mic with a pop filter that I just installed that I don't even know if it's working at all. I don't know. It's very basic. It's a very basic kind of setup, but also I feel I'm quite particular about how I look on stream. So I don't really like the way that I come across in my current layout. So I'm thinking of other ways that I want to do it. I think I want to move my camera up a bit higher and a little bit more front on, so it's less. I don't know. I'm getting super meta at the moment, but basically it's a comfy setup.
That's all we want.
Yeah.
How often does it not work?
Literally every day, all day. I'm pretty sure like most streams, so it's like I guarantee the day that you've had a terrible day and you come home and you're just like, all I want to do is do official GT3 at Hockenheimring, and then you like turn your computer on and something breaks, and that's like,
yep.
Yeah, it's frustrating. There's a lot of little things. I feel like any streamer knows this, but as you kind of get more and more gear or more and more software, there's more steps you have to go through to start every stream. Like I've got to have multiple programs running for different things, and if I don't open a specific program or plug something in or I forget to do something, things break. For example, I did sculpts on the weekend and I forgot to open a specific program, which means it muted my entire VOD, like the whole thing. So it's unusable content for me now. I can't put it on YouTube or anything. So I don't know. It breaks all the time. It's very frustrating. My wheel's been disconnecting for the last like couple of weeks. So I had to order a quick release from like Cube Controls to kind of fix it. And I don't know. It's constantly doing stuff.
I know that pain.
What is there a track or a car or like a feature or something you'd like to see come to Gran Turismo 7 or iRacing in its next iterations at some stage?
Oh, I'd love to see a Super GT car. I think that would be really cool. Like a GT 500 kind of from Japan, like a Super GT race car. Otherwise, I don't know. There's a couple of things I would like. Gran Turismo 7, I feel like, has a really good mix of race cars. The one thing I want them to do is open up to more manufacturers. So there's 25 manufacturers that do the manufacturer series, and they have Group 3 and Group 4. I feel like that can be more. I feel like that can be like 35, 40 manufacturers. So I reckon they should make that larger. And for iRacing, I don't know, like maybe a little bit left of center, but something like a Formula E car maybe could be interesting.
Yeah.
The hypercar, a modern day Formula 1 car that isn't insane would be cool. I don't know.
And you sort of mentioned a little bit about the rig. What sort of, so you're using a cube controls, wheel, what gear have we got at the moment?
Yeah, so I've got the 80/20. I've got a Direct Force Pro, so a VRS Direct Force Pro that they were very lovely to give to me. This is Josh Rogers' ex wheel. He won a world championship on this, so it has to be good. Which means
no excuses
exactly. When I lose races, I'm like, oh, well, it's not the wheel's fault, is it? It's definitely the steering wheel attendant. I've got an Asher. I've got a Sparko P310 and an Asher base plate on it, and a Cube Controls quick release, and I've got Hoisingfeld Ultimates, which were kindly lended by Will from Boosted Media, who's another YouTuber. So yeah, that's my current setup.
Heard of him before, yeah.
Yeah, but they're really good pedals, and he's
done a few things.
He's awesome. So,
what does the future hold for Emily Jones?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm at this weird point where I'm like, I want to make more content, but also, like, it's unsustainable what I'm doing at the moment. Like, I'm killing myself, like working full time and then trying to cook dinner and then streaming. It's like I have no time ever, and it's slowly killing me inside. And I feel like I'm a terrible friend to so many people. And I don't know, it's frustrating because I feel like sometimes I can't create the content that I want to make because I've got no time in my day. So yeah, I don't know, we'll have to see where I'd like to go. I'd like to move into full-time content creation at some point. I think it's definitely going in that direction. It's probably something I should be looking at already or doing already. But also I'm like, I can work a day job as well. I think that's possible. So I don't know, we'll have to see what happens in the future, but I don't know.
Yeah, I echo all those words that you just said. I literally fell asleep editing a podcast today in this chair that I'm sitting in right now. Yeah, I need to get more sleep. So the question that came out of our Discord this afternoon, I think it's a good one. Socks, shoes, or bare feet?
Ooh, socks. Definitely socks. All the way. Okay. Yeah.
That's not the answer he wanted. He wanted all the professionals to say shoes, so he could then purchase shoes, convince his wife he could buy shoes. So, racing shoes. But no.
I mean,
sorry, bad luck.
End of the day, I feel like do what you want. Like, it doesn't really make a huge. If you've got good pedals, if they're hard enough, like, it doesn't really make a difference. It's just whatever's like you're most used to, and I guess I'm most used to. I would do bare feet, but these pedals hurt my feet, and it's too cold, so I want to wear socks.
That's fair. 100% fair. Who should we get on the podcast next?
Oh, who's good? I would say, I guess just more kind of sim racing people in Australia. I feel like there's so many kind of old school people around. I guess he's been on a lot of podcasts. He's done a lot of talking himself in the past, but someone like Madison Down would be really cool to interview. So he's been around for so long, and he's won so many championships, and he's very high up at VRS in terms of coaching and things like that. So someone like Madison, I think, would be really, really interesting.
He is in our Discord, and if he does listen, I definitely do want him on there. He sort of said he wasn't interesting enough to be on the podcast, and I disagree with him 100%.
Yeah.
So we're calling you out, Madison Down. Get on the podcast ASAP. The person you mentioned before is someone I was hoping you'd say, which is Will Ford.
Yes,
100%.
you should get Will Ford on there. He's such a nice
should.
dude. I've got this lovely letter behind me that he wrote me when he kind of gave me the pedals right there. He's just such a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I cannot rate Will high enough. He should be on the podcast, definitely.
There you go. Will, we need you on the podcast. Not that you're listening, but we need you on the podcast anyway. So look, thank you so much for your time, Emily. I'm preparing for a race in a little bit, so I've got to get off anyway. But we've had you for an hour, which is how much I really don't want to. You've already mentioned how much time you don't have,
okay.
so thank you for an hour of your time. Who do you want to plug, and also who do you want to? What legends do you want to shout out from your stream, or who will help you out, and where can people find you?
Yeah, so I guess you can find me for starters on Twitch, so twitch.tv/Emery. And EMREE, I guess. You're probably watching this podcast. You can see my name spelled out below this, probably. Also on YouTube as well. I post on there as well. So YouTube is a good place to look. Thanks to McLaren Shadow for working with me, and thanks to Logitech, I guess, for that as well. Thanks to Bose for these lovely headphones that I'm using at the moment. VRS, cool, thank you for the gear and all their amazing coaching equipment. And yeah, thanks to Will again. Thanks to everyone in my chat that just keeps turning up and saying stuff. I have a very awesome group of subs that have been around for so long, for like years, even when I take breaks, even when I'm terrible, and they keep turning up, and I owe them so much, and I love them so much. I hope they're good, my loyal subs. But also people who don't subscribe if they just watch, even if they're lurking. I hope you're enjoying the stream, and thank you for watching.
No problems at all. Thank you. Definitely. All those people, I echo that as well for my streams. People who just hang around to watch for no reason. Thank you very much. Look, I'll quickly want to shout out, we've got a new sponsor for the podcast, which is Clayton Davies CD Cinematography. If you can go check him out as well, he's supporting us, so go check out him if you're listening to this. He's a legend, massive dirt talent, and also takes photos of dirt stuff. Go check him out on Facebook. The link is in the podcast description below, or the YouTube video below, whichever way you're watching it. Braden, quickly, where can people find you, mate?
Oh, excuse me. Well, if for some reason you're not over watching Emily, you might want to come over and have a look at my stream at twitch.tv/the1dwade. And as always, probably whinging about something on Twitter. You can interact with me on there at Braden Talks.
Excellent. You can find myself at Twitter sometimes, rarely, very rarely. Wilco's Chill Zone. You can also find all our content lockedonlads.com. Yeah, that's where it is. It's Locked On Lads YT on YouTube, Locked On Lads on Facebook, which is the main place where we're pretty active at the moment. But get in our Discord, lockedonlads.com/Discord. It is really crazy, and I apologise, Emily, for chucking you in. You probably got about 45 notifications
It was sweet.
just today.
It was lovely.
So yeah, definitely jump in there. There's some really good stuff happening in there at the moment. And look, that's the main stuff. Locked On Lads on Twitch, which is where I'm about to jump onto and do Turning Left race. And then we've got Aussie Cars tomorrow night, so hopefully check that one out as well. But thank you again, Emily, for your time, and hopefully we'll have you on again sometime in the future for some other content. Have a great night and good luck on the week. No, Scops is a couple weeks in the way. Good luck in your next race anyway.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.